Hey everybody, welcome to another GG.CO.UK video with me, Daryl Carter. Day 2 of Aintree time to get stuck in. Hopefully day 1's gone well and we've got off the mark with a couple of winners. Day 2 looks very, very tricky. The first race is the 2 mile 4 Thames Network Handicap Hurdle Grade 3 and it is very, very tricky. You can make cases for a lot of these runners in here. I've not got a really strong fancy. The problem with this race is that it's got Mr. Coffey in it, and I said after the Betfair Hurdle to a couple of people that he definitely needs to step up and trip. He gets that today, and unfortunately I'm going to have to give him another chance. I'm sure he's well handicapped off a mark of 137, although this will be his last chance saloon. I think 2.5 miles on good ground is going to be what he wants. I don't think he'll have any issue with a flat track. There should be no excuses whatsoever, and if he can't get his head in front or at least go very close to winning this, then I think I'm just going to have to let him go and leave him behind. But he is the only one I'm going to have a small bet on, probably just to save a little bit of face in the fact that I can't have him winning off a mark of 137 after being so confident on him off just a pound higher mark for the Betfair Hurdle, etc. I may well have a very small saver depending on the price. I've got no prices for this race at the moment on Amarillo Sky for Colin Dusart. Robbie Power jumps on board. This horse took a really big step forward last time at Exeter when beaten steady away by 7 lengths. Really like the way he did it there. Now he's been given a £13 rise in the handicap, which is never ideal. I don't normally like backing horses on the back of hefty rises like that. The handicap of this season has just given these horses, whoever wins by 6-7 lengths, he's just been giving them really hefty rises. The form doesn't warrant his mark of 128, but he was expensively bought, and just feel he might be coming into his own into this spring ground. So perhaps Amarillo Sky. Mr. Coffey is going to get a bet, but no confidence selection in the 145 guys, unfortunately. The 220 is the novice hurdle. I like this race quite a bit. I don't think this is as open as the market suggests. Now, Dusart is around 11 to 4 chance. I think that's a very fair price given what he did at Newbury on his debut. Beat the Betfair Hurdle winner very, very convincingly at the finish, was going away. At the time, he was touted, and I quite liked him as well, for the Supreme Novice Hurdle. This year's Novice Hurdlers have just not been up to scratch whatsoever. We've had very few go above that 140 mark. And I think this race lacks depth. So I would, although he's priced up on the promise of that Newbury run and on the figures he's not really achieved as much as a lot of the others in this field, I would be disappointed if Dusart wasn't good enough to run out a ready winner of this contest. And I think 11 to 4 could look a big price come at 225. So Dusart is going to be the one for me. Third time lucky's in the second fav. Any News is obviously interesting. Didn't get to show what he could do last time at Kelso, unseated at the unseated 4 out. So we didn't really get to see what was going to develop there. Ajero is the other interesting one. This horse is a half brother to Charbel. He's a very fast little horse. He's recorded some good time figures. He's rated around 140 now. He's rated 140. I do think there's a little bit more to come from him, and I do think they like him quite a bit. He's a very, very nice horse. So Ajero would be the big danger for me. But Dusart's the one I'm going to be siding with, and hopefully he can confirm the promise of that debut run at Newbury. The 250 at Aintree is the mid-main Novices Chase. It's over 3 miles. Chantry House, Marsh winner, steps up to 3 miles for the first time. I think he is the one to side with. I really do. I don't think, again, this race has got much depth to it. There's no Irish contingent in here. All British runners. I think the market's got this pretty much bang on. Chantry House at the top of the market. Espoir de Rome could potentially be the biggest threat. A little bit of an unknown about him. I liked him as a hurdler. I think he's very talented. I think there's a lot more to come. 3 miles, just a slight question mark for me, but the ground should be in his favour, I think, over this trip. I think over shorter he wants softer ground, but good ground, 3 miles shouldn't be an issue for Espoir de Rome. However, I do think Chantry House, who holds Fiddler on the Roof on a couple of pieces of form, including in a point-to-point, I think Chantry House is only going to improve this step up to 3 miles. And I think if there's going to be any Gold Cup future contenders coming out of this race, I do think it's going to be Chantry House. A cracking run from Fiddler on the Roof at Cheltenham, but still not good enough. 6.5 lengths behind Monkfish. just felt Monkfish didn't really show his best there. He didn't jump that well, and I felt Fiddler on the Roof sat off the pace and took advantage of the strong pace setter in the big breakaway and Monkfish. So yeah, I'm very confident. In fact, on Chantry House should be winning this. Espoir de Rome, if you can get a price without Chantry House or even an each way price at around 5 or 6 to 1, I think he'd be worth backing because I don't think he'll be out of the three. I think that's probably the bet for me. Espoir de Rome at a price at the moment, but we'll confirm that in the GG con. Move on to the 325. I think this is a no-brainer. Backing Fakir Daldaries for Joseph O'Brien. 11 to 4 again for me around that sort of mark is a cracking price. 3 to 1 I think you can get. I think Politolog has been well below par this season. He's aging now. I don't think he's as good as a lot of people make out, and I don't think this race holds any depth whatsoever. Fakir gets his right trip for only the second time. He bolted up over in Ireland on his only other start over this trip, and then was behind Allaho. Did the best of those coming out of the pack behind Allaho in the Ryanair last time out. That horse, Allaho, is now rated 174. There's nothing of that quality in here. I think Fakir should take all the beating in this, and that's for sure. The real confident selection with Fakir Daldaries there in the Marsh Chase in the 325. Moving on to the 405, the Topham Chase. I've not really got a strong opinion in this race. Again, I did want to keep the faith with Senior Citizen. I think he's a well-handicapped horse with a mark of 137. I hear that this has been the plan. The good ground is definitely in his favour. He wasn't disgraced at Newbury and beaten 3 lengths by Umbrigado. I thought he was given a bit of a dodgy ride that day. I thought they should have gone for him a little bit sooner. Perhaps they're worried about stamina doubts. 2 miles 5 might just stretch him, but the better ground will certainly help him get that trip, every inch of that trip. So Senior Citizen is one I quite like. Precious Cargo is the other. Thought he ran a really nice prep race for this at Warwick behind Espoir de Tay. Just looked in desperate need of the run after a little bit of a break. That was his first run after a wind up. Second start could improve. He's a big horse. He looks like he's got loads more to come. But you can make a case for a number of horses in this field. So Precious Cargo and Senior Citizen, I'm flicking back and forth between at the moment. The 440 at Aintree, I'm quite willing to take on Brave Man's Game here. Now, I was quite keen on him at Cheltenham for the Ballymore, but for me, I thought he was readily put in his place, and he was quite exposed on that run. I didn't think he finished off his race very strongly at all, and the step up to 3 miles at this stage in his career, I just think it's a bit of a head scratcher, really. I'm not sure what they're doing. Listen, the Albert Bartlett form is going to get a real look in here. That Albert Bartlett was not strong at all. We tipped up Vanillier to win that race at a big price earlier in the season and on the day. And it was simply because the race was just so weak this year. But we're going to see if anything can take a step out of that and go on and improve. Oscar Elite's a very interesting horse. I was quite surprised with what he did at Cheltenham, finishing second behind Vanillier. He was beaten 11 lengths, but he stayed on really strongly. That was a career best effort from him, and that came on good ground, and his only other run on good ground was a win and a point-to-point. So he just made well won a little bit of good ground, and Oscar Elite's around 10 to 1 for finishing second in the Albert Bartlett. I mean, I think 10 to 1's a very big price. Cape Gentleman's an interesting runner. Ran in the Dovecote over 2 miles at Kempton when we last see him. Now up to 3 miles. Streets of Douai behind Oscar Elite at Cheltenham. The cheap pieces need to bring out a bit of improvement because he's a short price. I'm not sure why, but I'm quite keen to get Brave Man's Game beat here. There's not a lot of depth to a lot of these races. There's some really nice horses running, but not a lot of depth in these races. I'm probably side with Oscar Elite at around 10 to 1 if I can get that. That looks an interesting price. The 5.15 is the final race of the day. There's a couple of interest in here. I like a horse called Camprond. This horse won at Taunton last time out. He jumped terribly throughout the whole of the race, but he picked up really smartly in the closing stages. He was a horse I've had my eye on for the last couple of runs in maiden hurdles, and he's only had 3 runs. Been given a handicap mark, opening handicap mark of 125 for JP McManus, who I think could have a good week this week. Ben Jones takes £3 off, and I think he has plenty more to come from him, and definitely on good ground as well. That was his it was his second start on good ground. The other time he ran behind Glory and Ono, who's rated 128. So I do think he has got a bit more to come. The one to keep an eye on in this race is a horse called Bold Enough for Henry the Bromhead. Hugh Morgan takes off £5. On his last run in a rated hurdle over at Downpatrick, the split Pure Genius, who's rated 134, and Machuca, who's rated 131. Obviously, Machuca much higher rated over fences as well. But that run looks very good in the context of this race. He's been given a mark of 125, inclusive of the claim. He's down to 123. So I do think he is weighted to go well. Bold Enough, that is. Leon Cavallo ran a blinding race at Cheltenham when we last saw him. Just looked a bit of in need of the run, really. It was his first hurdle start for a long time. He could improve for that. He's got Fergus Gillard taking off £5, fetched with a mark of 135. And he does go, he can go well next time out after a break. So he's I think he's won two of his amount of races second time up. So Leon Cavallo's of interest, Bold Enough's of interest, and Camprond. Those are the three I'll be looking at. But hopefully we'd have already had a couple of winners by the 5:15. Have a great day, and I'll see you again on Friday.